My name is Masahiro Takanashi from IHI Corporation. And what I'm going to talk about today is shown here. And the co-authors are listed here. Here are contents of today's my speech. At first, I'd like to talk about the introduction and the experimental procedure and experimental result. And we did crack growth analysis by reference stress method. And finally, I summarize my speech as a concluding remarks and introductions. As you may know that Japan is a country very highly susceptible to earthquake. And one of the significant challenges in Japanese nuclear industry is to assess the structural integrity against the excessive loadings caused by earthquakes. And another key factor is aging. Pipes of aging nuclear power plants may develop some micro cracks due to fatigue or stress corrosion cracking. So the post-construction code, ASME or ASME Section 11 or JSME rules on fitness for service clearly stipulate the crack growth evaluation method and the small-scale yielding conditions. But they did not cover the conditions over the small-scale yielding. So to tackle this issue in Japan, the FDF low cycle fatigue and ductile fracture and the cyclic loading subcommittee was established under the Atomic Energy Research Committee of the Japan Welding Engineering Society. And it has been investigated fatigue crack growth analysis method beyond the SSY conditions. The phase 2 FDF subcommittee drafted guideline for crack growth analysis method using J integral range delta J, which provides a simplified method to estimate the J integral value for typical cracked structures using the reference stress without the need for finite element analysis. To verify the accuracy of this proposed method, we conducted a very low cycle fatigue crack growth test by 4-point bending on the carbon steel piping with an inner surface, circumferential surface cracks. And we discussed today these results. Experimental procedures. The material used in this project was a carbon steel pipe, JIS, Japan Industrial Standards, STPT 370, and whose mechanical properties are shown here. And also the shape of specimen is shown on this slide. The length was 1,200 millimeters. The outer diameter is 114.3 meters. And the wall thickness is 11.1 millimeters. And at the center part of the specimen, we introduced circumferential notch with depth of 3 millimeters and length of 10 millimeters. And at the opposite side of the notch, we introduced observation windows to monitor the fatigue crack growth behavior. And this slide provides a schematic illustration of the fixture of the testing machine here. And by using this fixture testing machine, we conducted fully reversed 4-point bending tests. And we did 2 fatigue tests. And each testing conditions were here on this slide. At first, prior to the fatigue test, we introduced pre-fatigue crack at the notch tip. And we did 2 types of fatigue tests. First test, the stress amplitude, load amplitude of the first test was 180 kilonewton, and we reduced the testing loading amplitude to 165 in the second test. And during the fatigue test, we introduced a benchmark by changing the loading range to mark the crack tip during the fatigue test. Oops. So here we have the result from the first test, which was conducted 180 kilonewton. And unfortunately, we cannot introduce multiple benchmarks, only one benchmarks. And because the crack growth rate was higher than we expected. So this figure shows horizontal axis is the number of cycles, and while the vertical axis is the crack depth. And the pre-fatigue crack was about 5 millimeters, and we introduced first benchmark at 100 cycles. And we planned the second one is 200 cycles, but crack penetrated the wall at 168. So in the second test, we learned from the first test, and we introduced the benchmark at 50 cycles. And the second benchmark was introduced at 150 cycles, and the third one was 250 cycles. And we introduced in total 3 benchmarks as shown on these pictures. And we also observed crack length from the observation windows. And the wall-through crack life was 300 cycles. So next week carried out fatigue crack growth analysis by reference stress method. The reference stress is given as a function of ratio of applied load to the limit load shown here. And we conducted bending test, so we have to consider the bending moment. And when the pipe with the circumferential circumferential surface crack is subjected to bending moment, the limit load was given this equations. But this equation is the accuracy of this equation is reported somewhat lacking accuracy. So Professor Kim from Korea, YJ Kim from Korea University proposed a modification of the limit load as shown here, and we considered it, this modification. And consequently, the reference stress is given this equation, and we consider this equation. And in calculating J integral range delta J, we also corrected the small scale reading conditions in accordance with R6. And as for the bending stress range delta sigma B, we only consider the tensile side. So multiplying the J integral, quadrupling the J value to obtain the delta J J integral stress range, J integral value range. As for the stress strain curve, we used cyclic stress strain curve by another subcommittee in Japanese subcommittee by design fatigue curve, and we modified as shown here. We used this curve. And regarding the crack growth rate, the dA/dN delta K equation for ferritic steel in air by JSME for fitness for service converted to the dA/dN delta J relation. And the conversion was given this equation and also drawn by the red curves. So now I'd like to explain the analysis results. This slide presents a comparison between the experimental result and the analysis results. And at first, we did fatigue crack analysis without no modification, no limit modification. And the wall-through crack was 186 in experiment, and the wall-through crack life of the analysis was 335. Considering the simplicity of this method, the result was not bad, but the analysis gave unsafe predictions. So we modified the limit load by Professor Kim's proposal, and we obtained a better relationship. And also, in the second test, we obtained almost the same tendency was observed. The analysis was also gave a longer life, unsafe predictions with 500s in the analysis and 300 in the 300 cycles in experiment. So again, we modified limit load and obtained good relations, but still remains unsafe predictions. So concluding remarks, as a first step to confirm, as a first step of the study to confirm the applicability of the fatigue crack growth analysis method and the cyclic loading beyond small scale yielding conditions, a very low cycle fatigue crack growth test by a 4-point bending was conducted. Under the following these conditions, crack growth behavior was traced, and the predicted crack growth behavior was on the non-consumptive side compared to the experimental result. The main reason for the discrepancy was limit load. By modifying limit load by Professor Kim's et al., the analytical result approaches the experimental ones, although still non-conservatives remained. So there are still room for improvement, but considering the simplicity that this method does not require the finite element method, we have to have future tasks to improve the reference stress equation and delta J calculation method, and the development of crack growth law, dA, dN, and delta J, and the development of appropriate stress strain ratio, and more case studies. And our final goal is to publish a code case of the Japan Society Mechanical Engineers for Safety Nuclear Industries. Thank you very much. And finally, acknowledgement. Authors would like to acknowledge the members of FDF subcommittees. Thank you very much.